Hello, hello, and welcome. I am so excited to be back again interviewing today for Beauty Queens Galore, the resource page. My name is Nick Blaze, and I am honored to be sitting here and giving you an insight into a woman who I admire so much. Today, we're going to be talking to Laura Clark. Laura is the National Director for Miss Earth USA and International Ms. Pageant. Laura's goal is to always get her story out there, whether it's a story from a personal perspective, introducing you to her family, or sharing her experiences about life. Today, you're going to get to hear all the little nits and things that we did not know about Laura. But really quickly, I'll give you a few fun facts. Laura has been recognized as the best director by Pageant Planet, as well as the prestigious Prestige Pageantry Awards. She has over 15 years of performing and being a choreographer in professional sports. Laura earned the title of Ms. United States in 2011, which actually catapulted her career in the industry. So today, let's get to know Laura Clark and let's hear all about her. Now, don't forget, please put comments in the chat if you have something that you'd like to ask Laura, whether it's about her time that she's going to share with us living abroad or her experience in pageantry. Drop it in the chat. We love to hear from you. So without further ado, Laura Clark, how are you?
Hi, Nick. I'm great. How are you?
Well, I am excited. I'm very excited. And I know that we're friends and we know each other. So this is going to be just a conversation among friends and just getting to know you a little bit better, as well as letting people see the greatness that is the Laura Clark. So let's get started. Is there anything you want to share with us before we dive right in?
I don't think so. I am open to you being the leader of this conversation, but thanks for having me.
Well, I am very excited. So, you are coming off of a very successful run with Miss Earth USA. You've had three back to back international queens. You must be pinching yourself when it comes to how successful this program has grown since you first took over. Do you think it's going to wear off, or do you think you're just getting started when it comes to Miss Earth USA?
Yeah, I definitely. We're going into our ninth national production. So my team of direction team behind the scenes, we will be producing our ninth program on New Year's Eve. So there's your announcement, which yeah, New Year's Eve this year, which will be our 2024 Miss Earth USA pageant. Obviously, our program has evolved since it started, and we're really spending time to develop the youth programs because that's been one of the most enjoyable experiences, is to see these young girls get involved in their communities and their ideas of environmentalism and how young it really starts, being able to hear their voices. So in addition to going on to Miss Earth competition with our Miss Earth USA, we are putting more emphasis on the junior titles and the teen scholarship program, as well as more sponsorship and more travel opportunities for Miss Earth USA, having her whole year to travel domestically, to get involved in her platform, get involved in environmentalism, and then go compete at Miss Earth in the fall prior to crowning her successor. So yes,
Wow.
I see things changing. You never really know exactly what changes will be thrown at you or what direction things will take. But currently that's where we've evolved in these 9 years.
Well, I love it. So you mentioned the junior program. Just for those out there that they're not familiar, most people know about the Miss USA organization. Talk to us a little bit about the junior program. What's the age demographic and who's the target audience for that program?
We start at age 5.
Wow.
And not all of our state pageants include a junior state pageant, but we do appoint titles, regional and state titles. And we're asking these girls ages 5 to 13 as our junior program, and then above that up to age 19 in the teens, to prioritize something they can do in their community. It doesn't have to be, groundbreaking project, but passing out recycled tote bags or starting a recycling program at their school or their church, or whatever really they think is maybe going to turtle hatchings on the coastline or cleanups, whatever. Regionally, it can be so many different things. So that's our priority, is to really influence these girls and teens to get involved. And then secondly, to give them opportunities for fashion, for public speaking, and to meet their role models, who are Team Miss Earth USA, and Miss Earth, to be able to have the opportunity to meet and stand alongside those role models.
That's really, really nice. Now, if I'm a mom and I want my daughter to compete at Earth USA, the junior program. Are there any contracts that bind parents? Because parents, the young people, they want to compete in different things. They want to have different opportunities. If a young lady were to win, is this an opportunity that she's binded for a year, or does she have a chance to still compete and grow her pageant resume?
We do require our Teen Miss Earth USA. That's a binding title. And if you win a state teen title in your, through your state pageant, those are binding. However, the junior program is non-binding. In fact, our reigning junior Miss Earth USA has competed. She's based out of Illinois. She has competed in other pageants since winning the title in January. However, we just say, please go compete in something else that's not binding, right? So that you can continue to be involved and at the national title level. But yeah, I agree. I think that girls ages 5 to 18, this is their time. If they're really serious about pageants and experiencing different programs and being on stage and trying out interview and different aspects of pageantry, that they should not, in my opinion, should not be limited to a binding title.
I agree. And since we're on the subject of pageants and there's so many out there, what makes Miss Earth USA different?
The difference is really in our mission. So this is currently the 23rd year of the Miss Earth organization, which was founded in the Philippines. In 2021 was the very first Miss Earth pageant. And since their inception, the Philippine organization Carousel Production has focused on environmentalism. The slogan has always been beauties for a cause, and we continue to use that slogan. And I think that we are true to our mission. That is always at the forefront of what we do and what we encourage our title holders to do in their communities and represent. I think that us knowing our organization from the onset, knowing who we are and what we stand for, really makes us different.
I agree. I have a soft spot. I'm sure people can guess why, but I definitely love the Earth organization and everything it stands for. Pageantry is so subjective. There are pageants that have different focuses, or different things that they're known for. With the Miss Earth USA organization, if you are recruiting right now and you're talking to a woman or a young lady who she's just never heard about the Earth organization, what's your 1-minute spiel that you can give as something that's going to make us stand out for the Earth organization? So, ready, go.
Well, I don't hear that very often anymore with women in the United States in pageantry. They seem to know who we are at this point after so many years of success. And Miss Earth organization is truly a platform, an international platform for a woman to make an impact. And yes, we do have a great success of women going on beyond being Miss Earth USA, going on to compete on the Miss USA stage, or continuing to go back to compete. But perfect success story would be our golden child, Lindsay Coffey, who showed up. Women involved in our program, some are new to pageants, some are very scared about entering pageants, some are models, some are pageant veterans, some are very environmental and not used to the pageantry aspect. So we are a true melting pot, I think, of women that respect one another and work for our mission. But Lindsay Coffey came in 2020, having never competed in a pageant except for one state pageant previously. And she went through and she won Miss Earth. And she just had that it factor. And she continues, since 2020 being named Miss Earth, she continues to have so many opportunities within environmentalism, within PR and marketing and media. She's a World Wildlife ambassador. She's just doing amazing things. And obviously that is the end goal, to win Miss Earth and be that legacy. And that's possible. We provide our national title holder with everything that she needs to prepare and to be proud on that stage at Miss Earth. And I think for any woman who's ready for that type of experience, they should definitely give us a look. Nick's frozen for me. Oh, she's buffering. So I think Nick's coming back, but if I'm still live, then I'm going to brag on her for a second, because she is one of our state directors for Miss Earth, and she's been with us a long time, and she runs an excellent program in Georgia, Florida, Alabama, and Tennessee. So if I'm going to use this time while we're getting her back, she is an amazing pageant coach and a professional woman and a mom and a former title holder. And it's always a pleasure to talk to her. We talk every couple of months, it seems, but when we get together, that's how it is with a lot of my state directors. I love being able to chat with them, talk about their families, talk about their other careers, their goals. And I love being able to be here with Nick on the Pageant Resource channel to catch up and tell other people about Miss Earth USA and about our jobs as directors. So, other things going on. Make sure you all go over and watch the Vice News documentary, because she didn't mention that, but Vice News did a documentary about Miss Earth USA back in January, and that is live on the YouTube at Vice News, that everyone should be watching in pageants. Don't you think, Nick?
I agree. Can you see me and can you hear me? Can you see me and can you hear me?
Yeah.
I am so sorry. I'm just like, what's happening here? Technology. I am so sorry, guys. I got kicked out for a moment. But the weird thing is, although I was kicked out, I can still hear you, Laura. So thank you so much for your wonderful comments on me. I don't know what happened, but it is an honor to be a director for the Earth organization. It definitely has a lot of meaning, and it's given me an opportunity just to be able to touch the lives of so many women and to introduce them to an organization that just has so much to offer when it comes to recognizing how important it is for us all to do our part with the environment. But then also, I've watched several young ladies and women grow because of this organization. So I am definitely honored, and I am back. So I'm so sorry. We were talking about just the organization and what sets us apart. And my next question, I was going to go right in before I got kicked out, was when it comes to pageantry, there's so many women. I know you mentioned Laura Lindsay Coffey as someone who had very little to no pageant experience, and she came right in and she was able to win not just the national title, but the international title. What do you think, what's a winner's mindset to you, regardless of that quote unquote veteran experience? What would you say is an attribute of a winner's mindset when it comes to pageantry in life?
I had the opportunity to work with Miss World for a couple of years with the United States preliminary to Miss World when Elizabeth Seyfried went on to become second runner-up Miss World. And I will use an experience from her program. We learned through the process of going to compete at Miss World that she was asked, like, very abruptly to go do a media appearance, and she was fresh out of the shower. She was in her hotel room in London, and she's like, "Oh gosh, I'm just totally not ready. I'm so sorry, I can't do it." And within minutes, she was like, "Oh, that was a huge mistake." And we talked about it afterwards. Her director and our team had talked about the experience, that the best thing you can do, which is a winner's mindset, is to say yes. And then maybe say, "However, I need a few minutes to get ready. What time do you need me there? Can I have an extra 10 minutes?" If your organization is asking you to submit, which is something we did this year, a 100-day plan.
I loved
Do
that,
it
by
with
the way.
guys.
I loved it. It was
Yeah,
game changing.
right. For I'm sure a lot of those girls to say, "Oh my goodness, I've never done that. That sounds impossible." And instead of saying yes, and that, which is an improv acting, if anyone's in improv or theater, yes, and you agree to the situation and you make it your own, right? So obviously we want a title holder, we want young women to be involved in the decision-making process, especially when it is their state title, their national title, their decision on gowns and things that are involved in the process. But I think as often as you can, just go with, like, you get 1 year, right? That to make the most of every opportunity that comes your way, to really say yes and just make it happen.
Yeah, I agree, and oftentimes, even in coaching, from the coaching perspective, I do see, sometimes the motivators are just very different. And we sometimes, when we apply for a pageant, sometimes people actually think, well, I'm just doing this for fun, and I end up winning, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or I want to win, but I thought winning was different. I thought
Right.
winning was, photo shoots and appearances. I didn't realize I had to commit to being able to do this. So I love that analogy you gave, and that our example, because it really does show that pageantry isn't just all glitz and glam. There's real work behind it. And I think oftentimes, sometimes there's this misconception that a pageant girl just wakes up saying yes and wakes up being beautiful,
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to her being human and her really having to put a lot of effort into it. So let's just stick to the topic, but let's shift gears a little bit when we talk about title holders. From your perspective, you've been a title holder, you've been around a lot of title holders, you've been the director to a lot of title holders. What would you say is, if you had to tell a young lady, hey, you're applying for this job or you're applying for this opportunity, you need to be ready in this way? What's the one thing you can tell them that they need to be, whether it's be flexible, whether it's just, what's that one thing that you would say to them?
I think they need to look at the big picture. They need to go beyond the self, which anytime someone says, "My crown, my sash, my title," I always like flinch a little bit, because it's so much more. It is everyone. It is that organization's platform. So when you recognize that every action you take as a title holder in the process of wanting to become a title holder, you need that the whole organization, the history of the organization, the team that goes in behind the scenes and is working day in, day out for, the branding and for that title holder's experience. Just be thinking about the big picture and the impact that you're making, the legacy that you're leaving.
Absolutely. So here at the resource page, we pride ourselves on just creating an environment and a platform that allows women to kind of come here, and if you're looking for a photographer, we can help you. If you're looking for a makeup artist, a coach, or a pageant system, a dress store, you name it, the resource page can definitely give you that. But I'd like to, from your experience of being exposed to so many different platforms and so many different organizations, what's one advice you would give us, the resource page, that we can use to help make the pageant community even more better?
That's a very good question. I do like the posts that you have coming up every once in a while about comments, about concerns that are anonymous. I do appreciate that. I think at times it seems a little gossipy, right? So I
Mhm.
think evolving that platform for people to use the, anonymously address concerns might be tweaked in some way because it produces a lot of conversation.
Definitely.
I've seen, right, that should be talked about. And so often in pageantry, we're told to just be quiet. Not even just pageants, but I think women in general, just be quiet and don't complain, right? Or don't talk about the controversies. So I don't know. I think that that's an interesting approach to it, but I would like to every time one of those, I mean, I'm guilty. Every time one pops up, I'm like, what's it say?
Let's
Right?
say,
So,
and more importantly, how far down the rabbit hole would go.
yeah, right. But having and with social media today, I think every girl that's going through pageants, even from an outsider perspective at times, to see the controversy, like if oh, I'm thinking about being in pageants, but whoa, that's a lot. Like the Vice News documentary that just went out recently about us, and there was a segment talking about bullying,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah,
That
I
was,
love it.
you know, that people admire the drama a little bit from afar, but that also might deter certain young girls and moms and women from even entering the industry when 90 to 95% of your experience is going to be positive. You know
Absolutely.
what I'm saying? Like
Yeah. Oh no, Vice did
that's
a
an
fantastic job.
interesting thing that is offered on the pageant resource page. I don't know what direction that will end up taking.
Yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
and we get, it's funny because we get a lot of people, inboxing us, telling us, "Oh my gosh, thank you. Thank
Right.
you so much for, giving me an opportunity or giving people a space that they can really, really express how they're feeling and say the things that they're thinking, but other people aren't necessarily able to say." So definitely I definitely that comes up every time. Every time I ask that question,
Okay.
interviewing someone, every single time that question does come up. Another question I'd love for you to finish a sentence for me. Uh, you want to be remembered. So I want you to finish it in two ways for me. The first way I'd like you to finish it is I would like to be remembered in pageantry for this. And then I'd like you to finish it on a personal note. So give me a little insight into how you'd like to be remembered personally outside of pageantry.
So in pageantry, I would like to be remembered as someone who was consistently professional, provided opportunities, and was transparent. And I wish I wish only the best in the industry, that is the direction that continues across the industry. Personally, I would like to be remembered as somebody who evolves great. I would say like age gracefully, but evolves gracefully because, you know, the world is ever changing. And so if this is a career I stay in or I move on to a different career or, the friends that you have in some cities versus other cities or different times in your life, that it's just a graceful evolution. Um, if that seems to
I love
be
it.
a good
I love
goal. And, that I'm always looking very young and fresh because I can't keep up with all these ever changing styles and
Yeah, I
trying
but
to figure that out.
yeah, it's funny because as a very 40-year-old woman, I definitely am realizing that this is the time to take, beauty seriously in terms of taking care of ourselves, making sure we're eating well and we're drinking lots of water, all the things our mom told us to do. And we're realizing that, wait a second, I should be eating better. I should be
Mm,
exercising. So definitely, I agree with that last statement wholeheartedly. I want to look, I want to look good, right? I want to look
yeah,
youthful.
and
But
you do look good. So
yeah.
I
Well,
take
thank
a few
you. Thank
notes
you
from
so
you
much.
as
Yeah.
often as I can.
No, thank you so much. Definitely am trying to take care of myself. But, as we're talking about, what we want to be remembered for, what you specifically would like to be remembered for, let's talk about directing a little bit. Oftentimes I will get former clients of mine or just certain people just come up to me saying, "Hey, you're a director. It seems pretty easy to direct. How can I get into being a director?" So a couple of questions around that I'd like to ask you. The first one is, what role do you see a director plays in shaping or assisting with the shaping of their title holder?
So that's really up to every director, because personally, I was never a coach, right? So, and still am not a coach. So I I think as a director, you have to realize what are your strengths and weaknesses, because every person is different. And I'm a graphic design background. I could do a flyer, Photoshop
Mhm.
and public, press release and this, whatever. And the next director may not have that in her wheel, right? Her
Mhm.
talents. So, but then for example, you are a coach,
Mhm.
and I think that if a director wants to be that person to a title holder once she's won the state title, preparing for nationals, then that is wonderful. Otherwise, it's my responsibility to recommend the right person regionally, to set that up for sponsorships. And I said earlier, like, make sure that your title holder is set up for full success for the year. Talk to her about her strengths and weaknesses and her goals and what the organization can and cannot do for her, and then put the right people in touch with her to achieve the goals that you all have as an organization. And sometimes that's going on to competition, and sometimes it's just being in a national title um, that doesn't go on, to an international competition. But I also think um, more and more often I want to be there for my title holders as a mother figure, as a big sister. And I think that's how I've evolved as well. Maybe as I have become a mom, I have a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old, wanting to ensure she's safe, she's confident, she's comfortable in every situation, that she can call me and I will pick up the phone and talk to her about something that's going on outside of pageantry. I don't think that every director wants to take that responsibility, and that's okay. But I certainly think that it's more of a responsibility for me now.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree. It's very different. And I think also the directing community is that a community. So there's always opportunities, especially in this organization, to leverage the experience that other directors have. We've talked a great deal about Earth, but you have another baby. You have International Ms. Tell us a little bit about International Ms. What are some of the criterias for a woman looking to compete? And what made you decide that that was something you wanted to pursue, which is directing another system as well?
So I started my pageant journey as a Ms. title holder. I was 30, just over 30 years old when I finally said, "Oh, I guess I can still do this." I had been an NFL cheerleader all through my 20s and thought that door had been closed, because I was always doing games and doing that during my 20s. So I was asked to enter a Ms. pageant, and I ended up winning Ms. United States. I found at that point in time that there were not very many opportunities for women who had aged out,
Mhm.
and especially in the international spectrum. As I was getting more experience with the international programs, I wanted to create a prestigious international organization for women over the age of 26, and that's in it. Fall of 2015, after branding and going through the exploration process, I launched International Ms. So that, however many years now that has been, we only offer the titles for the women over age 26. If someone is married, she can choose to have a Mrs. title. If she's not married or she's divorced, there's no age limit. I really just look for women who are doing something of stature, because once you're over that age, you could have children, you could be dedicated to your career. You aren't going to be all things once you're that age. So it could be a woman who's never done anything in pageants and she just really wants to get started with it. So I ask her, well, what are your goals? Give me an example of something in the community that you've dedicated yourself to, just to see like where's this inspiration coming from. So once again, we have all sorts of women who get involved with International Ms, and it is international. So we have women coming from the UK, Australia, Japan, Romania, the Caribbean, all sorts of countries coming to compete. And then we offer the USA state titles as well that go into the opportunity to win Ms. USA for unmarried women or Mrs. USA for married women. And the International Ms title is the grand prize that everyone is eligible for.
I love that. I love that. So let's talk a little bit. You just mentioned, there's no age, and there are just different women, and one of the reasons why you particularly decided to start this amazing system. Other pageants right now are making a lot of changes. I've been in pageantry for over 30 years, and there's certain things that I look and I'm like, wow, it's still the same. And there's still that level of consistency that just transcends decades to decades. But there's certain things right now that have changed. Some of the changes, notable changes in pageantry right now, is looking at one of the major systems out there has decided to combine Mrs., so MRS, MS, and MISS into one pageant, as opposed to it being separated based on certain criteria. What are your thoughts about that? Is that the new wave of the future in pageantry, or do you believe that it should still be separated?
I think that obviously there are hundreds of pageants and owners. That is the beauty of a beauty and yet a curse at times, right? Where an owner of a pageant or the executives behind a pageant can sit behind a desk and decide we should make this change, or this is what we stand for, or this is what our ideal title holder will, have in her back pocket, in her experience. She could be natural born female, trans, right? So I think that the leadership is still able to make those decisions and that everyone will find a pageant for them. Obviously, when the major organizations make such a big change, you will probably see a ricochet of the same, rules being changed in other pageants. And everyone is very resistant to change. I think that this has been well received for the most part for that program. I think that in general, I would love to see increased age ranges across these major, because that's a big goal for these young women, right? And for them to just be, oh, the door is closed at such and such age, or because you got married. I think that it is wonderful that the organization that shall not be named, that the door is open. However, the age hasn't changed. So I think that's probably what you'll see next, right?
Yeah. I mean, I definitely, I love change. I love consistency. I love when there is a level of authenticity that just keeps it going. But at the same token, I love doors being open to other people. So let's wait and see, what the trickle down effect is.
I mean, keep in mind, you have Miss America, 100 years old. 100 years. You have to expect change. You have to expect change that didn't work out. Leadership is going to change in 100 years, and policies in the world in general is going to change, which will influence our industry. And the same for, Miss Earth being 23 years. I don't think we've seen as many drastic changes, but it will happen. As we get beyond the 23rd year, there will be changes ahead that you never can really predict. But the world is a totally different place than it was 23 years ago.
Absolutely. And for those of you who are just tuning in, once again, you are tuned into Beauty Queens Galore, the pageant resource page. Once again, my name is Nick Blaze, and today I am interviewing the amazing Laura Clark, who is the National Director of International Ms. as well as Miss Earth USA. Laura has an extensive background when it comes to pageantry, from being a competitor, a title holder, and a national director. She also is the owner and founder of Live Rock Productions. And Laura, let's talk a little bit about Live Rock. Somehow I feel like it's there's something sentimental about that name. Tell me what inspired you to rebrand your production company, and what about that name? There's something that seems very, very familiar to me about that name. Talk to us about Live and Rock.
So I've had a production company for 10 years, approximately. Yeah, about 10 years. As I started out with as a state director. Prior to that, I owned a company called Going Pro Entertainment, which was consulting and choreography for pro sports, cheerleading and dance world. So Going Pro Entertainment was gone. And then when I started production company for pageantry, it was just simple, like, okay, I'm just going to name it whatever pageant I'm working for. That's what you see on the invoices, and no one is going to question what that credit card charge went toward. It's just like a byline and produced by such and such. So over time, I said, gosh, I really need to change the name. I need the name to represent me, because I love working for Miss Earth USA, being the franchise owner. I also have International Ms., which is not Earth, right? So that had been the production company had the Earth name in it. So Live and Rock Productions has been something in the back of my mind for a few years now, because my children, they are named Olivia and Rocky. And those are their nicknames. Their nicknames are Live and Rock. But also, yeah, I thought it's like, hey, it's very kind of describes the atmosphere that I like to have behind the scenes with our team, to live and rock. I mean, we're not into rock and roll too much, but we like to have a good time, like to have fun, but get the business done. And that's what all our state directors and our management team that we do at Live and Rock.
I love that. I love that. And sometimes when we have these personal inspirations, it definitely is a recipe for success. Since we're talking about your family, tell us a little bit about your family and your recent move to Switzerland and the time you spent there, and now you're back in the United States. Tell us about that transition from stateside to international.
Right. So I am now based out of Chicago momentarily. We really don't have a home. My husband works for the federal government, and his goal is to move as often as possible. I gladly married into that, because I am also just love to start fresh and see new places and travel. And we had the opportunity to work with the United Nations. His position was with the United Nations in Geneva, Switzerland, which started in 2019. We stayed there 3 years. It was a beautiful place to be quarantined during the pandemic. So we were in the Geneva, Switzerland area. We got to visit a number of wonderful places there. Had a second child while we were there, which was planned. And took him.
I love it. I love it.
We have a Labrador, so she came along with us, the whole family. It was a great experience. We do hope to get back over to a European or another international post at some point in time. Right now, we're living around the Chicago area to be a little closer to family for a little while. Typically, though, we're based out of Washington, D.C.
I love it. And I can tell you, I'm still thinking about my Switzerland chocolate that you brought me back from Switzerland. So, I want you to go back secretly, because it was like the best chocolate I've ever had.
It really is. It's not the same. Being back in the U.S. and I just don't get into the chocolate and the sweets as much.
Yeah, it definitely was the best. And talking about, being quarantined, you had the really, really unique experience during the pandemic of running a virtual pageant.
Mm.
And although we are post pandemic, uh, there's so many people who are still looking at the pros and cons, financial wise, just getting everyone together with doing a virtual pageant versus a live pageant. So tell me about your experience with the virtual platform, and do you believe that that's something that's going to be the wave of the future as well? Or you're still going to always love your live production?
Live productions, I think, are the best. I think that we have to get back to a fully live production, which we have since 2021. Um, However, we've used some of the things that we learned through the virtual process to do Zoom interviews, for example, to
Mhm.
do a little bit more video work with Miss Earth. Even though it's a live production now with Miss Earth, they still ask us as national directors to film a few things in our country, which is really neat to see national costume being produced with the scenic areas of that
Mhm.
country, for example. So I do appreciate some of the aspects that can be utilized with technology now, from a virtual standpoint, and maybe social media, paying a little bit more attention to your social media outreach and connection and engagement. However, I think, for example, we are bringing interview back to a live format. So an
Mhm.
in person, all in the same room format for Miss Earth USA this year. I think it can get a little too comfortable to try to do some of the virtual formats. And there's nothing like being live, being face to face with people for a number of days, and to really experience that together.
I love that. You mentioned social media. What role do you think social media plays with contestants being able to display who they are prior to them getting? And do you believe, or as a national director, is that something that you pay attention to, or your judges are instructed to pay attention to a young lady's social media? Do you think it's important?
Yes, we do. And sometimes I wish that wasn't the case. I think that social media is a blessing and a curse, right? It's a benefit, and it also can overwhelm people and it can consume people. So hopefully we can, foster a supportive environment when it comes to social media and our expectations. But the face of your pageant, the face of your brand, has to be active on social media. She has to take the responsibility, because people want to see her. They want to hear from her. They want to hear her voice. So, she needs to learn a few more techniques. I think through our state title holder process, we try to integrate and say, well, if this is not something that you've done, then learn a little bit more about it. Use this time and your state titles, because we do take that into consideration. And the judges, once you're getting into the top 20, currently our format is to sit and to examine the social media presence of the top 20 behind closed doors on that free day before the finals, and that can influence the final decision. So I think that's a good thing. I think the organizations should be um, transparent with their contestants, that is a factor.
I love that. And I'll tell you, as a director, something that I hear often, it is at least every single pageant season that I've wrapped up my state competition, I've had a parent or a young lady come up to me who was not happy with the decision because either she didn't win, or my child didn't win. And the one thing I hear all the time is, you knew who you were going to pick. My daughter didn't, she didn't stand a chance. What do you say to people who truly believe that authentic pageantry just does not exist anymore, and directors are actually picking who they want to win?
I think that wouldn't it wouldn't be possible in today's day and age. It would be really silly, I think, for a director to think she or he could get away with that on a large
Right.
scale.
Thank you.
And so, because your judges, they want to be part of the process, and they recognize, hey, something's wrong here. I believe they would recognize that.
I
So,
agree.
and they wouldn't allow, I mean, the judges I pick would not allow me to walk in and say, she's your winner, right?
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah, I
Absolutely.
think it comes down to pageantry. It's hard, it is competitive, it is subjective, it is a day by day changing format and your performance, your interview. There's so many elements that at the end of the day, there's only one winner. And that's
Absolutely. Say it again. Well, we're going to, as we are starting to wrap things and wind things down, Laura, I want to thank you so much for giving me this opportunity just to speak to you from an interview perspective, and just to get a little bit more insight into who you are and sharing your brand with our listening audience today. Before we go, I do want to give you an opportunity to give what we call a lasting impression about who you are. And the way we do it is we play a fun game called This or That. So I'm going to give you two options and two options only. And even if it pains you, you must commit. You must commit to at least one of them. You can't say it depends or I want them both. Even if you want to, I need you to be the contestant today and lean in with commitment. So let's get started with this or that. Sneakers or stilettos?
stilettos.
Ding, ding, ding for me too. Road trip or plane ride?
Plane ride.
Ding, 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 ding. Okay, here we go. Glass half full or glass half empty?
Half full.
Okay, now this is going to determine if we are truly friends, Laura. Okay. Netflix or Hulu?
Netflix.
You see, I just threw my pen. Yeah. Dress or jumpsuit?
Jumpsuit.
Natural glam or full glam?
Hmm.
This is a tricky
Full
one.
glam.
Full glam all the way.
Mhm.
All right, so this is going to be very tough, I'm sure. Switzerland or USA?
USA.
Team USA. City or countryside?
City.
Jeans or leggings?
Jeans.
Early bird or night owl?
Early bird.
See, that's where we're different. We're different there. I'm a night owl. Long nails or short nails?
Eek. Well, short nails.
Underdressed or overdressed?
Overdressed.
Pause time or rewind time?
Pause.
Curly or straight hair?
Straight.
See, we're both rocking straight hair today. Summer or winter?
Summer.
East Coast, West Coast?
East Coast.
I think the only thing we differed was early bird or night owl.
Yes. And I have evolved. I was definitely a night owl until I got married with children. Now
That's the only time I have time for myself is at night when
I
everyone's
get it.
sleeping. That's
I'm
like the only
I've
time.
just grown to like my sleep now.
Yeah, and it keeps you youthful. I definitely need to take
Yeah.
a page out of that book. It keeps you youthful. Well, Laura, it has truly been an honor and a pleasure interviewing you today. And for those of you who just tuned in and you missed the interview, definitely go back and check it out. Today, I had an opportunity to speak to Laura Clark, the owner of Live Rock Productions and the national director for Miss Earth USA and International Ms. If you are interested in competing either for Miss Earth USA or International Ms., check out their website. You can actually go to missearthusa.com and you can explore all of our different divisions that we have available from the juniors program, our teen and our Miss division. And Laura, close us out with telling them how they can get to the International Ms site as well as the different divisions that they can apply for.
InternationalMsPageant.com, which is also MsPageant.com if you're lazy. Keep in mind that is also open to married women. So MsPageant.com, and that only requires filling out a contact form. We send over the application and all the information. And that program is held Labor Day weekend in Florida. Now with Miss Earth USA, we have an application and we have several state pageants. I think we have 26 state pageants this summer, July and August. So think ahead with your location. And that is missearthusa.com to find your way. And we offer appointed titles through interview, through online application if there's not a pageant in your state.
Very nice. Well, thank you so much, Laura. It was truly a pleasure speaking with you today. And I look forward to the continued planning process and just the support that you give to your directors at the state level with getting our state productions planned and executed. And for those of you who are interested in competing either for Alabama, Florida, Georgia, or Tennessee, our state competition will be August 19th through the 20th in Roswell, Georgia. Definitely go to our website, check us out, as well as look at our website to see if you're not in any of those areas. We have lots of amazing state directors who would love for you to sign up for their respective state pageants. So thank you guys so much. Once again, this is Nick Blaze, and today you got a chance to tune in to Beauty Queens Galore, the pageant resource. Thank you guys so much.